What's up, everybody? In this one, I drove out to Northeast Tennessee. It was a long trip. I spent all day on the road, but it was worth it. I met a guy called David Hrivnak, and David has literally written the book on sustainable living. Driving to Net Zero is by him. It has 15 stories of different people taking different approaches to living carbon free. And since the drive was so long, he actually kindly allowed me to charge my Model X while we were filming the interview. I was able to charge up on 100% free sunshine while I was there. But let's get into the interview. This one's a good one. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for watching. I am here in Northeast Tennessee today with David Hrivnak, who has invited me out to speak to him about his awesome sustainable lifestyle setup, and I am very excited to talk to him and learn how he got into EVs. David, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad you're here.
Excellent. Me too. What a great day to drive out. So tell me, how did you get into electric vehicles?
About 13 years ago, when gas prices hit $4 a gallon, at that time I was driving a Chevy Avalanche and just trying to figure out what can I do to reduce gas costs. One of the ideas I landed upon was adding an electric motor between the transmission and the rear axle and then powering the car. And through that endeavor, which was a lot of money, wouldn't definitely do it again, but I learned so much about the possibility and the promise of electric drive motors, the incredible torque they have, and the promise of lithium batteries and just how much better they are than the existing batteries we had at the time. After I did that project, a couple people noticed that, and there was one lady in Knoxville who wanted a conversion done. And so she bought this Jeep Wrangler and twisted my arm. We put batteries in it, and she's driven that now for over 10 years. When it was new, had about 85 miles range. It now needs a little TLC, but it still easily get 30 miles and will easily chirp the tires with the EV power.
So when did you first encounter Tesla?
After, I guess as I was doing my car and doing that Jeep, I had my eyes and ears open, and I heard about Tesla and their roadsters, which were just sounded incredible, and also keeping up with the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Volt at the time. When I had to give that Jeep back to the lady and the conversion was finished, I really missed that instant power of electric drive and that quiet acceleration. And so I was checking on eBay at one point in time, and I noticed they had an electric car category. And when I clicked on it, while I couldn't afford a new Roadster, there were a couple people selling used Roadsters that were just above my price range. So I kept on following that, occasionally putting on bids. In 2011, I got a Tesla Roadster that just totally opened my eyes of what a ground-built, purpose-driven EV can do, and all the safety features they put on it and the incredible power and performance that it gave.
How long did you drive the Tesla Roadster for?
Oh, I had that for 9 years.
Wow. You ended up selling it?
I sold it last year. Yeah, sold it last year. It went to a new home in California.
They're collector's items now.
They are, and it was, again, my awful timing was incredibly impeccable. Literally the day we agreed upon, or the week we agreed upon the price and that he was going to get it subject his, inspecting it after he flew out, a Roadster was featured on Jay Leno's Garage, and the guy appraised it for $100,000, well north of what I had sold my car for. And it was kind of like, oh, if I hadn't had already made the agreement. But such is life in the rearview mirror.
I feel the same way about having sold Dogecoin in July 2020. That $1,500 would be worth $200K now.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
But at the time, that $1,500 appeared to be an absolute solid, good, great return.
Yes, it did. Tell me about the Model 3. What do you think of the Model 3?
Love the Model 3. So where the Roadster was an absolute blast to drive, It wasn't a very practical car for two reasons. Number one, it was a small two-seater, so small that my wife, unfortunately, with not ideal knees and hips, had real trouble getting in and out and driving it. So that was a bit of an issue. The second thing is because it didn't support level 3 charging and never would, taking a trip more than 250 miles or 300 miles was challenging because you were stuck with slow level 2 charging. And the Model 3 with the Tesla supercharger network makes EV driving not only possible, but fun virtually anywhere in the United States. Once I got the Model 3, I gave up just a little bit of the performance and the handling of the Roadster, but you gain an incredibly quiet interior, fast charging, longer range, and as you know, a great sound system, infotainment that's available in a car.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. David, we have to talk about this solar. Tell me about this.
Okay, well, about 8 years ago, we added solar to the house. This house was actually designed and built as a passive solar house, but at that point in time, in 2000, solar panels were just crazy expensive. But I was hoping that that cost would drop over time, and they did. So in right around 2015, it came time to replace the roof of the house, and then with new shingles, we added solar panels back then. And it was amazing to see your electric bill drop. You know, in this house, it wasn't bad. It was about $90 a month, but to drop from $90 a month to less than $10 a month was just incredibly satisfying. Since then, they've adjusted their rates here and now, but now, for the most part, our electric bill ends up being $16 a month.
And you charge your cars at home most of the time?
Yes, so that's including about 1,500 miles of EV charging. So when I tell people I can power my whole house, which is all electric, electric heat, electric AC, even an electric heat pump hot water heater, but we're driving 1,500 miles a month on the average, they just look at me like incredibilists that it can't be done. But it does work.
No way, that's amazing.
You want me to show you a bill?
Yes.
Okay. I use this for a lot of car shows. Here's my electric bill. And as you can see, we pay the connection fee of $16.30. And actually, if you look down here at the graph, I don't know if you can get it, but 12 of the last 13 months has been zero net usage. We did have like a $40 bill in February. We kind of fell a little bit short of our goal this year, but that's just encouragement to try to do better next year.
A $40 bill in a winter month.
Yes.
And that includes your driving.
And that includes our driving, yes.
That is phenomenal. I believe you actually work in solar, correct?
Yes, I do now. I picked up a little part-time job selling, servicing, and occasionally installing solar in the area.
Oh, cool. So I have some questions for you then. I have seen some analysts like RethinkX and ARK Invest, and they have said that solar costs have decreased by about, solar and battery combined costs have decreased by about 80% over the past 10 years. Have you seen that?
I wouldn't say the decrease has been quite that much, but it has been very significant. So solar panel costs have dropped a lot. The other costs, the wiring, the labor, the inverters, haven't dropped nearly that much. And unfortunately, we're finding a lot more regulations and local taxes, fees, inspections being tacked on. But still, you know, this solar system it would be a good 1/3 less now than when I put it in.
In 2015?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's phenomenal.
It's dropped about that much.
Wow. 30% less in 6 years. That's a pretty rapid price decline.
Actually, I guess it was 8 years, but yes, it's a nice decline. I see those trends continuing in the 18 months I've been actively selling solar. Virtually every 2 months or so, we'll see a little tick down on solar panels. Sometimes inverters go down a little bit less. So yes, it's becoming more affordable. You know, as I say, you know, people ask me, would I do it again? You know, I've had 8 years now of virtually no electric bills, and that's including powering our cars as well.
Wow, you've had to have saved a lot.
Yes, I figure I'm easily saving north of $3,000 a year. And so the solar system paid for itself after 7 years, essentially in gas and electric. And now I figure I've got 25 years of free power and fuel that will take me pretty much to about the end of my life.
Oh man, that is awesome. A lot of the Tesla owners I talk to, and me included, are investors in the company's stock. Do you buy any Tesla stock?
Yes, a little bit. I've never been one for single companies or risky stock, but they did so many things right that yes, I did dabble around a little bit in Tesla stock, and that has definitely helped me. I can say Tesla paid me for my Model 3.
No way. You are the third person I've talked to who paid for their car with the Tesla stock.
Yes, and it didn't, when I first bought in, the stock was $30 a share. I was a little bit late to the game, but even at $30 a share, now when you consider that they've had a 5-to-1 split, that's like buying in when the stock was $8. So you really didn't need to put a whole lot of stock in the company back then. Now, if I was really smart and bought Tesla stock rather than the Roadster, I'd be a multimillionaire today, but such is hindsight.
Yeah, sometimes you have to choose the experience instead of the investment.
Absolutely. As I said, the Roadster may not have been my best investment, but it was definitely the most fun experience I've ever had.
Phenomenal. So what do you foresee for vehicles and Tesla in general over the course of the next 8 to 10 years?
I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to see more and more EVs on the road. I know I, for one, will never buy a car without a plug. We got a Toyota RAV4 Prime there that, yes, it's still got a gas engine. We love towing our little camper around the country. And right now, the electric infrastructure isn't quite there for towing. But we can still cut our gas to about 1/3 of that of when we had a Toyota Prius by taking advantage of the plug-in of the RAV4 Prime. And electric driving is just so much cheaper. Two little data points, Knoxville's 100 miles away, and I tell people I can drive to Knoxville and back on $5 worth of electricity. Actually, I can now say I can do it on sunshine and free since I've already bought the solar panels. Another time we took a trip to Houston, Texas and back, 2,200 miles across 5 different states, and we racked up $53 in fuel costs. I dare you to try to even get to Houston in a Prius for $53, let alone get there and back. Another neat thing that people it's hard to wrap their mind around, this car is now over 3 years old, got 57,000 miles, and I did put a new set of tires on it, as you would probably most any car of that age. And there's been nothing. There is no maintenance. There are no oil changes. There's no fluids to attend to. I did put windshield washer fluid in it. I guess I take it back. Windshield washer fluid. But thanks to regenerative braking, you almost never use the friction brakes. And so the car is it's there and it works. So these, quarterly going to the dealer or going to the Jiffy Lube, you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore.
That's amazing. So David, you've been plugging in for about 13 years, and you've seen a lot of EVs in that time, and you're very familiar with them and involved with them. What is the maintenance like? What about when they get a lot of miles?
This is the amazing thing. The maintenance is extremely low. I once cornered one of the Rangers, one of the mobile service people at Tesla, and I said, even after 100,000 miles, don't you have to do something to the car? And he said, no. And he said, think about it here. A lot of cars on the cooling system, it's pressurized and it runs at around 250 degrees. In a Tesla, it's basically close to ambient temperatures, it's ambient pressures, and it's all the same metal. So it will truly last a lifetime. There are no belts, there's no oxygen sensors, there's no exhaust. there's literally almost nothing to break down in an EV. So it is very low maintenance. And I can say this after putting more than 150,000 gasoline-free miles on the road these days.
That's incredible. There's very few wear parts, the tires.
Correct.
The windshield wipers.
Yes, windshield wipers, windshield washer fluid. I do find I spend more in washing and waxing, so that might be a downside.
Yeah, they're
especially
cool
with the
cars.
Roadster.
Yeah, they're cool cars. You have to keep them looking nice. You mentioned
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you tow a camper. So this camper here, can an EV tow this?
Absolutely, very easily. As you'll see in the back of my Model 3, I've got a tow hitch. It'll do a great job pulling that camper up through the mountains. But the reality is, if I'm trying to go more than 150 miles and you now need to start supercharging, because when you tow, I find that range gets cut almost in half. So then trying to find a supercharger, often having to unhook the camper, back in and charge, now all of a sudden that becomes a little bit of a challenge. But we used our Chevy Volt for the first 4 years. We probably pulled that camper more than 37,000 miles with that Chevy Volt, multiple times through the Rockies. And that electric drive has all the torque that you need, as we've passed many a diesel pickup, arguably carrying slightly larger campers up over the Rocky Mountain passes.
Wow, yeah, you don't have any altitude performance hits.
Absolutely none. And you know, the Chevy Volt had this mountain mode that it saved more of the battery for the mountains. It did a superb job on our multiple trips out west, even up to Banff and Jasper National Parks in British Columbia.
Phenomenal. So it's pretty much an obvious thing that if somebody's going to buy a new vehicle, especially around mid 30,000 and up, it would be probably a good idea to get an electric vehicle the way things are going. Out of all the EV options out there, would you recommend a Tesla to who's shopping or something else?
Okay. So what I tell people is I really think the Chevy Bolt, the new Nissan Leaf with its 200-mile range, and the new Mach-E Mustang are all very solid, credible electric cars. If, and this is my hesitation, if it's basically your second car around town. Where Tesla has made a leapfrog above the competition is their supercharger network. So with the Model 3 here, this can truly be your main car. We've driven, like I said, to Houston, Texas, Tylertown, Mississippi, Cleveland, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Indianapolis. Never was there ever an issue with charging. There was never any drama, any pulling hair out. It just simply works. And with those other cars, that network isn't as fast charging and it's not built out quite as well. I'm sure they'll get there, but for now, if you want the only car, I'd look very hard at Tesla. If it's a second car around town, you've got many more options.
That makes sense. David, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about EVs and solar. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
And a pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.